The upcoming Yom Tov, 2 of the 4 names refer to the mitzvah that's applicable to Shavuos, the mitzvah of Shtei Halechem. Saying Parshas Pinchas, the pasuk says, "B'yoyim habikurim b'akrivchem mincha chadasha." So Rashi explains, why is it Yom HaBikurim? Yom HaBikurim means what we know Bikurim is the first fruits of the Shivas Aminim. Zak Rashi, Yom HaBikurim is referring to the first of the Tvua. The first time that it was brought to the Beis HaMikdash was Shavuos. Right? The Omer was from Sa'irim. Chitim was brought Shavuos. So that's Yom HaBikurim. The same thing is also, Rashi explains at the pasuk in Mishpatim, Chag HaKotzer. What's Chag HaKotzer? Chag HaKotzer, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to cut before, but now was the time that we cut for the first time to bring Shtei Halechem to the Beis, the first time to bring Chitim to the Beis HaMikdash, and that was like they bring Shtei Halechem. Dahainu, the mitzvah of Shavuos. Every Yom Tov has a mitzvah. Sukkah says Yeshiva Sukkah, Daled Minim, Rosh Hashanah Shofar, Pesach Matzah. What mitzvah does Shavuos have? There's a lot of minhagim. These are mitzvah min haTorah of Shtei Halechem. L'maisa, we don't have the mitzvah. We don't have a Beis HaMikdash. So Shavuos Taka, we don't have a mitzvah. The other Yom Tovim we have a mitzvah. Shavuos we don't have a mitzvah. The Ramah says, to explain the minig of eating milchigs on Shavuos, Zok the Ramah, that if you eat first milchigs and then you want to switch in the middle of the Suda to fleishiks, you have to have another pass, 2 breads. So if you're going to have in one Suda 2 breads, it'll be zeicher to the Shtei Halechem. Zok the Ramah, B'doima, so first of all, Zok the Ramah, we don't have the mitzvah. Zok the Ramah, we make a zeicher. We make a zeicher to the mitzvah. But Zok the Ramah, B'doima, to what we just did, Pesach, Leila Seder, we have a Zroya, and we have a Beya, zeicher l'karban Pesach, zeicher l'karban Chagiga. Why do we do that? We don't have the karban Pesach, so we make a zeicher. Mainly here also, we make a zeicher l'Shtei Halechem. So the zeicher is an important zeicher because we don't have the mitzvah of Shavuos. We don't have. Maybe we make a zeicher. Let's stop just for a second in the Ramah. It's very interesting. The Ramah says that we make the zeicher Shavuos bedoime to the zeicher of Pesach. Pesach, we make a zeicher. Because when Bizman Beis HaMikdash Chaim, we used to bring a karban Pesach, all of us, and a karban Chagiga. Masha'in kein Shtei Halechem, we didn't bring the Shtei Halechem. Shtei Halechem was a karban that was brought in the Beis HaMikdash by the Kahanim. So why are we making a zeicher for what the Kahanim brought? B'doime, do we make a zeicher for the karban Musaf? Do we make a zeicher for the karban Omer on Pesach? So what's shot in the Ramah that we make a zeicher for the Shtei Halechem? Now, could be the pshat is enachanami tak. It was only the Beis HaMikdash, but pshat is the Yom Tov of Shavuos is the Yom Tov that passes by now. B'zman she'ein Beis HaMikdash kayim, and there is no mitzvah to the Yom Tov. So maybe Zok the Ramah we make a zeicher. Enachanami we only make a zeicher only something that's the gay to all of us. Karban Pesach, we used to bring a Karban Pesach, so we make a zeicher to the Karban Pesach. Masha'in Shtei Halechem, be'etzem, we didn't bring the Shtei Halechem, it was a mitzvah in the Beis HaMikdash. I want to go in a little bit tonight in the mitzvah of Shtei Halechem, but first with a short Hagdama. The Rosh in Hilchas Psachim B'Ksara, Zok the Rosh, that there was an old minig that the 3 matzahs on Pesach weighed the same amount, and Isaron, the same amount as the Lachmei Toida. 3 Lachmei Toida weighed the same much as 3 matzahs. There was 30 matzahs for 3 Isaron. It comes 3 matzahs weighed the same much as 3 lachmei toida. Why? Zok the Rosh, Hayois. Why do you bring a carbon toida? Abot strichim lahoidos. Somebody comes out of the midbar, min ayam, a choilish and a srapa. V'hayoitzim Beis asurim. If somebody goes out of jail, Klal Yisrael, we just went out of Mitzrayim, we just went out of jail. Zok the Rosh, the matzah that we're eating Leila Seder is lachmei toida. As Zok the Rosh. That's why it was the same measurement as the lachmei toida. Okay, that's a nice Torah for Pesach. But what does it have to do over here? We're holding now Shavuos. Now the emes is that the Shaila is on the Rosh. Pasha to Shaila, if we're trying to bring Leila Seder Ki'ilu connected to the Lachmei Toida, what happened to the Toida had 30 chalas of matzah and 10 chalas of chametz. So what happened to the other lachamim, the chametz of the toida? Where's that chelik of the toida? We're only doing half. So Zok the Chassam Sofer, Sayin Parshas Emer, Sayin Droshes in a few places, and he quotes the Binyan Ariel that the Shtei Halechem of Shavuos is the other half. Is the chametz tige matzahs that we bring with the toida. And the emes is, Zok the Chassam Sofer, that's pshat, the Binyan Ariel says it, that's the pshat in the kasha of the Manishtana. Shebchol ha-leilis anu oichlin chametz u'matzah. What is chametz u'matzah? Chametz u'matzah, this says when you bring a toida, it's made out of chametz and matzah. But ha-laila zeh, Leila Pesach, we're bringing a toida, and it's only shal matzah. Of them, the teretz is that enachanam bitak you can't eat a chametz matzah is not shayach leila seder. So we're mashlim it later Shavuos to Shtei Halechem. So we have now a havana in the Shtei Halechem al kapanim a drush, but a havana in the Shtei Halechem it's a hashlam, it's a chelik of the carbon toida. And we see that we don't have it as man hazeh, so Mamela, Dr. Ramah, you make a zecher. But like I mentioned, I want to try to go into the Ikir mitzvah, the gather of the carbon of Shtei Halechem. That's like the mitzvah of coming up of the Chaga Shavuos, Chaga Kotzer, Tzbikurim, to bring Shtei Halechem. The Torah says in Parshas Vayikra, "Tis a lav kichol sa'or v'chol devash lo yisaktiru mimenu ishel Hashem." You're now going to bring chametz on the mizbeach. Is a lav. However, the pasuk is mamshach, the next pasuk, and the pasuk says there's one exception. Even though you're now going to bring chametz al gabi on mizbeach, there's one exception. Zok the Torah, korban reishis takrivu oisam l'Hashem. But Dr. Pasuk, even though I'm telling you there's one exception of carbon ratius, Rashi explains, Uma yesh lahavi misa'oir, what's the exception? Shtei Halechem shel atzeres. The Shtei Halechem was chametz. And Memela, yes, Shtei Halechem you brought chametz. Like the Pasuk says in Parshas Emer, chametz te'alfen was made. You didn't just bring it from chitim, it was chametz. The Shtei Halechem was chametz. So maybe there's one exception. The Torah says one exception. The Shtei Halechem that was brought on Shavuos was an exception. It was chametz. It was chametz. Frek the Ramban, but the pasuk continues on. Even though it's an exception, you didn't bring the lechem al gabi mizbeach. But al kapanim, it's still an exception. Frek the Ramban, and what happened to lachmei toida? Lachmei toida also, 10 of the breads of the lachmei toida was chametz. So why does the Torah only say one exception where you're allowed to bring chametz, and what's with lachmei toida? Zok the Ramban, it's not a kasha from Lachmei Toida, Zok the Ramban, Zu eine kasha, Lashon Ramban. V'zu eina shayla. Why? Because Lachmei Toida wasn't Oila al HaMizbeach. So Mamela, it's not an exception. It's not an exception of Chametz al Gabi Mizbeach, because Lachmei Toida didn't go al Gabi Mizbeach. As it's Dr. Ramban. So Mamela, it's not a kasha why the Torah didn't exclude Lachmei Toida. Yeah, you with me? It's clear. Lachmei Toida is not an exception of Chametz because you didn't bring it al Gabi Mizbeach. Shtei Halechem. Frek the Tur asks on the Ramban. I don't understand the Ramban. What's with Shtei Halechem? Shtei Halechem also wasn't brought al Gabi Mizbeach. Who said? The Torah said not to bring it al Gabi Mizbeach. And still, even though it wasn't brought al Gabi Mizbeach, it's still an exception that it's considered bringing a carbon shal chametz. So Mele Frek the Tur, I'll go upon him back to the kasha. What's the difference between Lachmei Toida, that's not called bringing chametz, a carbon of chametz, as opposed to Shtei Halechem is considered bringing a carbon of chametz? What's the chiluk? The Tur al Torah says a different teretz. The Tur says that Lachmei Toida is a reshus, even though abot tzrichem lahoidos, but it's a smach. It's not a chiyuv min Torah. When the Torah says an exception, the Torah is only saying a chayva. Shtei Halechem on Shavuos is a chayva. Masha'en kein Toida is not, abot tzrichem lahoidos is not a chiyuv. The Torah is only speaking something that's a chiyuv, not something that's a reshus. What? It's a chiluk, but why is it a bachalak? Lamaisa, these two exceptions. Shtei Halechem is an exception and Toida is an exception, even though it's only reshus. It's a chiluk, reshus and chayva, but why is it a machalak? It could be matchig a little bit that the Torah is only speaking something that you have to do. Shtei Halechem, you have to. So the Torah is saying an exception of what you have to do, but it's still negated to say an exception of Toida also. You're allowed to bring the Toida even though it's chametz. To understand the Tur. The Panim Yafis also says like the Tur later, but he says like the Tur that he's a chiluk chayva and reshus, and then he says, but if it bothers you so much why the Torah doesn't say Toida, zok the Panim Yafis lamais it's merumis. Says the word rashis, the letters, spells out the four of abot tzrichem lahoidos. He has that apida pas, the Perek and Tehillim, Kuv Zayin. Some say it Friday before Mincha. The psukim over there in Tehillim that speak about Yordei Hayom. So he has it, goes into the words of rashis of what the Torah is saying. Rashis is an exception. What?
5 letters.
Right, very good. I don't have the Panim Yafis over here. It's the one thing I didn't write down, but one of them Itaka uses. One he uses Taka 2 letters. We'll look it up outside. I have it upstairs in the Eitzah Chachma. I opened it. I forgot to print it. If not, I would read it now. Taka. One of the 4, he uses 2 words of it. Yordei Hayom. I'm not. If we're talking about it being merumis, l'maisa, what we said from the Chassam Sofer before, that the Shtei Halechem gufa is a Toida, it's the hashlama, the other chelik of the Toida. So really, when the Torah says Shtei Halechem, really included in that is Toida also. Good, that's a remes. Al Kaponim, that's the kasha, the shaila we have over here. L'cha'ira, why does the Torah only exclude the carbon of Shtei Halechem, that Shtei Halechem is a carbon of chametz? That even though the Torah says you're not allowed to bring chametz, Shtei Halechem you could bring, and why doesn't the Torah exclude the Toida? So could be you could say the following, and we'll soon see it's mafurish in Rishonim. The This is l'chayre yesoi to understand the carbon of the Shtei Halechem. There's a big chiluk between the carbon of the Shtei Halechem and the carbon of the Toida. The carbon of the Shtei Halechem, what was the carbon? Both had chametz bread, and both came with animals, with behemoths. Toida had a carbon Toida, and with it came 10 chametz breads. The Shtei Halechem had 2 chametz breads and had 2 kisvei atzeres. The Shtei Halechem, the carbon of the Shtei Halechem was a carbon to bring 2 breads. With the 2 breads came the kisvei atzeres, came the animals. We'll soon see meduyik like that at a lot of places. Ma'ashekin, the carbon Toida, what's the carbon Toida? You bring a Toida. With the carbon Toida, you bring breads. So Memela, if you stop right here, we're going to continue, we'll see more Mara Makaimis. But just to understand, first of all, we understand clearly that the mitzvahs Shtei Halechem, Abal Leinu L'Toiv and Shavuos, that mitzvah, the mitzvah is Shtei Halechem. With the Shtei Halechem, there's a din to bring karbonis. Toida is the opposite. Memela, if you stop right here, it's meyushav why the Torah only calls the Shtei Halechem a carbon of chametz, not the Toida. Because the Shtei Halechem, the carbon of the Shtei Halechem is the Shtei Halechem. That's the carbon, the chametz. The Toida, what's the carbon of the Toida? The carbon of the Toida is the Toida. It happens to be with the Toida, you bring chametz. So Memela, Lagabe Shtei Halechem, it's considered you're bringing chametz to the Beis Hamikdash. Good, not on the Mizbech, but you're bringing chametz. Ma'ashenkin, the carbon Toida is the carbon Agav, you bring lechem with it. Now you have to speak to the yoidei of kachim. Is the pshat that the carbon alein of the Shtei Halechem is considered chametz, or it's like you're bringing the Shtei Halechem? That's, you could declare many different styles. But even before that, there's a pasha techilek. Even if you're not so smart, there's a pasha techilek. Shtei Halechem, the carbon is the lechem. With the lechem comes karbonis. Masha'in kein Toida, with the Toida comes lechem. The Gemara Menachos Nun Ches Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, Sa'oir hutar mechloloi b'migdash, going on this pasuk where there's a heter. My niyu, where's the heter? Lav Shtei Halechem, Zakt Rashi, li karavi mohem, ashnei kisvei atzeres, li karavi mohem. Meaning to say is that the karbonos are a tafel, they're included together with the Shtei Halechem. Rashi and Menachos Nun Zayin Amud Beis, Kisvei Atzeres Haboim Imam Ukegufan Dami, Dahainu, the karbonos are with the Shtei Halechem. Rashi ala Torah in Parashas Emor, when the pasuk says we craft them al halechem, when the Torah says bring karbonos, Zakt Rashi begalal halechem. Begalal halechem means because of the bread. You bring bread, and because of the bread, you bring karbonos. Now, Agav, the Gemara says that the bread is not ma'akev the karbonos are not ma'akev the bread. And the Minchas Chinuch explains that's not a stira to this yesod. Avada, the lechem, is the goyrim to have karbonos. Good, if you don't have lechem, you still could have the tafel. It doesn't exist only when there's lechem. If there's no lechem, you could still bring karbonos. The Gemara says, "Ein ma'akvos." But I'll call upon him, what's goyrim for the karbonos to come? The lechem. In Horius.
So how'd that work?
No, tafel means that it only comes after that there's a din to bring Shtei Halechem. So the Torah says, add on to the Shtei Halechem, add on karbonos. Now, the Minchas Chinuch is just saying that this add-on could exist even if you don't have the Shtei Halechem. But the whole mitzias of a carbon that we bring Shtei Kisvei Ha'atzeres on Shavuos, that only comes after that there's such a concept of Shtei Halechem. Now, on top of that, we also bring karbonos on top of the Shtei Halechem. You're right, it's not a chiddush, because you could understand that it's a tafel means you could only bring it with the Shtei Halechem. That's the chiddush of the Gemara, that it's ein ma'akvos.
What do you mean on top of it? It's all going at the same time. All of us going at the same time.
So I want to give me 1 minute, Rabbi Avram. I want to just go down to Toida. I'll show you in Ramban, and then we'll come back to see if it's still a shayla. Let's see. Give 1 more minute, and then we'll see. Also in Horius, Shtei Halechem koidem lekvasim abar mimoim. Zeh klal davar abar begin leyoim koidem. Zokt Rashi, what does it mean begin? Zokt Rashi ukvasim beglal Shtei Halechem. The kvasim come beglal because of the Shtei Halechem. Because without a Shtei Halechem, if there would have never been something in the Torah of Shtei Halechem, there would not be kvasim. So Mamela come to Chais, the carbon, the mitzvah that we do Shavuos, the mitzvah of Shtei Halechem, the mitzvah is Shtei Halechem. Everything else, these are carbon musav, and these are carbon chatas, and these are carbon oil, and a carbon shlam, and all these are carbonos. Shtei Halechem, the mitzvah is to bring Shtei Halechem, to bring 2 breads from the chitim from the chadash, the first time in the Beis Hamikdash, chametz. Attached to that, connected to that, you also brought carbonos. Toida is the opposite. Toida is the opposite. The carbon toida, the Torah says bring a carbon, and connected to the carbon you bring 30 chalos matzah and 10 chalos chametz. How do I know? Zok the Ramban on the psukim over there in the carbon toida. The Ramban says, you'll see it inside, it's mamash klar. The Ramban says, I learned it a few times, but the Ramban says that the 30 breads of matzah comes because of, means it's a tafel to the 10 breads of chametz, and the 10 breads of chametz comes because of the carbon. Mamash says it clearly. In other words, all the breads are biglal ha-carbon. The carbon is the ikr. When a person abat srichem lahaydis, what's the ikr? The ikr is the carbon. Avada, with the carbon, these are din to bring lachem also. 30 matzah, 10 chametz. Good. So Lamaisa, the mitzvah of Shtei Halechem is a mitzvah of 2 breads, which avada is accompanied. You also bring carbonos. Al pizeh, it could be meyashiv the Zohar. The Zohar says in Parshas Tetzaveh that Shtei Halechem, you will makriv the Shtei Halechem on the Mizbeach. As they say the Zohar. That's how they teach the Zohar, that's how they translate it. Valdo makriven chametz, he's speaking about the Yomid, the Shavuos, the chametz, the Shtei Halechem, la tukta al madbecha, to be makriven on the Mizbeach. Frekt Reb Chaim Vital, the Talmud of the Arizal, what's Pshana the Zohar. First of all, the Shtei Halechem didn't go on the Mizbeach. That's Aleph. The Torah says like that, but didn't go on the Mizbeach. And Sveitens, it didn't go. It wasn't burnt anywhere else. Also, it went to the Kohanim. These 2 Rambams. One Rambam says the Rambam of Maisa Karbonis, the Rambam V'Shtei Halechem Shemavim B'Yoyim Atzeres Ve'ilu Nikru Bincha Ve'Einon Kreven Lagabe HaMizbeach. It's a chiddush. It's a different than a mincha, and you don't bring it on the Mizbeach. Then the Rambam and Tmidim Musafim, the Rambam says, "V'chein Shtei HaChalois, the Shtei Halechem, Noitol Koyin Godol Achas Men V'Ashriyim Es Chalekes L'Chol HaMishmeres." Al Kaponim, the Shtei Halechem didn't go on the Mizbeach. So what Pshana the Zohar, that the Zohar says that it went on the Mizbeach? And al Zohar Oich frekt the Chida, and Etzutzi Or, the Chida asks, the same Shaila, the Emma says that he asks it on the Shlah. Maybe if there'll be a minute or two, we'll go into that, a little bit the Shlah. But the Shlah says that on Shavuos, we bring to the Mizbeach Chometz u'matzah. Matzah is the Minchas Nesachim, the Menachos of the Karbonis, and Chometz is the Shtei Halechem. So the Shaila is, you didn't bring it on the Mizbeach. As I fragt the Chidon, he says, Emerson, it's not the Shlo, the Zohar says it already. It could be, Al Pi this Yisoid, that the Pshat is that the carbon of the Shtei Halechem was a carbon of Chometz. Here you have to extend it a little weiter. The Pshat is, Avada, they say the Lashon, the Yumakr of Chometz. But the Pshat is because either he's referring to the carbon and it's still a chelik of the Shtei Halechem, so it's called Chometz, or even if it wasn't on the Mizbeach, but a chelik of it, either it's considered like you brought the Chometz on the Mizbeach, or the carbon is considered Chometz, but Al Kaponim, the Shtei Halechem is a carbon of Chometz. So Mela, that's why he says, good, that's Yesh Liyasha, but Al Kaponim, that's klar before this kasha. The Shtei Halechem is a carbon of Shtei Halechem. Just to be Messiah, just want to conclude with this shlah. The shlah says a Moiridig Yisoid that the reason we bring Shtei Halechem of Chometz, Dafka Shavuos, he says because the whole Yom Tov of Shavuos is merumiz on La'asad Lavai. La'asad Lavai, it's going to be shayach to have the guf and the nefesh to fully work together. Chometz is the guf. Rabbeinu B'chaim Kadakemach goes on even more. Chometz is the guf, Chometz is the Yetzirah, Sa'or Shabi'isa, and the matzah is the neshama. Zok the shlah, la'asad lavai, they'll be able to work together. Shavuos is a zman that it's shaykh to tap into the la'asad lavai. That's the one time a year that it's brought to the Beis Hamikdash, a carbon of chametz and matzah together. That's that Shavuos is meramis on la'asad lavai. But Zok the Meshech Chachma, that not only La'asad Lavai, but Shavuos, even before La'asad Lavai, also has this concept, this limud, that from when we got the Torah, a person has a koyach, Zok the Meshech Chachma, it's a shtickle, you can see it inside, a person has a koyach, at least if I understand it right, a person has a koyach for any davar gashmi that he does, to be mailet l'kedusha. And that's what he says, we bring the Shtei Halechem of Chometz, that it was Nes'alo l'kedusha al yidei achilas hakoyanim. So we saw from the Shlah that Shavuos is meramis on la'asad lavai, the Chometz and the matzah. Zok the Meshech Chachma, even now, a person, Shavuos could happen on la'asad lavai, but a person could take the limud of Shavuos, even bezman hazeh, that any davar gashmi that he does, if he does it al pi Torah, it could be nis'alo l'davar kadosh. We should talk about zoicha that this Shavuos, to bring the carbon of the Shtei Halechem, though I think it's a shaila, could be the Shtei Halechem, some clear, maybe it's connected, only if you have the oimer, and if we're not zoicha to the Shtei Halechem, al kapanim to all the other carbonis, it could be oila regel, oila siriya, Shalmei Chagiga, Shalmei Simcha, Shvi Zoicha, Bebeir B'Yameinu.